The internet is buzzing after shocking footage surfaced of Lil M slapping his father, Ems Harris, in public. Fans are left stunned, questioning what led to this explosive father-son showdown. Was it a moment of pure rage, or is there something deeper brewing between them? Eyewitnesses say things escalated quickly when M and Lil M were spotted in a luxury car arguing fiercely. At first, it seemed like a simple father-son disagreement, but it spiraled out of control fast. Sources report voices were raised, accusations flew, and before anyone could react, Lil M's hand struck his father's face, leaving M stunned. The entire incident was allegedly caught on camera, and now fans are desperately trying to get their hands on the leaked footage. What drove Lil M to cross the line like that? Did M push his son too far, or is there an untold family secret behind the shocking altercation? Stay tuned as we break down every insane detail of this jaw-dropping clash. The tension inside the car was thick, like you could cut it with a knife. M sat in the driver's seat, gripping the wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. Lil M sat beside him, jaw clenched, eyes burning with frustration. It started as a simple conversation, maybe even an attempt at bonding, but it quickly shifted to something much heavier, filled with old wounds and unresolved anger. "You never listen, man," Lil M muttered, shaking his head. His voice was low, controlled, but there was a sharp frustration beneath it. "You always think you know what's best for me, but you don't. You never have." M let out a heavy sigh, fingers tightening around the wheel. "That's not fair," he shot back, his voice tinged with the exhaustion of years of trying. "I've been trying to do right by you. You think this is easy, being a father, especially after everything we've been through." Lil M scoffed, turning to look out the passenger window, the city lights blurring past. His mind wasn't on the city, though. It was in the past, remembering all the times he had felt abandoned. The times when he needed his father, but he was met with absence. The years of watching his father build a life with Yandy and their kids while he figured things out alone. "Don't even start with that," he said, his voice sharp. "You talk about being a father, but where were you when I needed you? When I had to figure things out on my own? When I had to be my own man because you weren't there?" And inhaled deeply, chest rising and falling with the weight of unspoken regrets. He knew his son had every right to feel the way he did, and he knew he had made mistakes, huge ones, but he also tried to make amends, hadn't he? "I was doing what I had to do," M said, his voice softer now, almost pleading. "I was handling business, making sure you had everything you needed. Maybe I wasn't there the way I should have been, but don't act like I didn't care." Lil M turned to face him, his brows furrowing. "You always say that," he muttered, "but words don't mean anything when your actions don't match." M's eyes tightened, and he ran a hand over his face. "No, I don't expect you to forget, but damn, can't we at least try to move forward?" For a moment, there was silence. The hum of the car's engine was the only sound, but it wasn't peaceful. It was the calm before the storm. Lil M chuckled, but it wasn't out of amusement. It was bitter, hollow. "Move forward?" he repeated, shaking his head. "How, man? How do you expect me to do that when you don't even take responsibility? When you sit here acting like I should just accept whatever you say?" M's jaw tightened, his patience wearing thin. "You don't think I've taken responsibility?" he asked, voice growing tight with frustration. "You think I haven't tried to fix things?" Lil M's eyes were dark, full of pent-up resentment. "You know what your problem is," he said, voice dangerously low. "You think just because you've done better lately, it erases everything before. But it doesn't. I'm still dealing with that, even if you're not." M's jaw clenched as the conversation shifted from tense to volatile. He knew his son was hurt. He had every right to be. But something about the way Lil M spoke, as if everything he had done meant nothing, cut deeper than expected. "You don't get it," M muttered, shaking his head. Lil M leaned forward, his eyes blazing. "No, you don't get it," he snapped, voice rising now. And that's when it happened, the breaking point. M scoffed, rolling his eyes, dismissing his son's pain with a simple gesture. In that split second, Lil M's hand shot out, smack, and the sound of the slap echoed through the car, a sharp crack that shattered whatever restraint was left between them. M's head snapped to the side, eyes wide, not from pain, but pure shock. Lil M sat back, chest heaving with uneven breaths, his hands trembling. He couldn't believe what he had just done. Neither of them spoke. The weight of what just happened hung in the air, thick and suffocating. M slowly turned back to face his son, jaw tightening, eyes blazing with something unrecognizable, hurt, betrayal, and something darker. "What the hell did you just do?" he asked, voice dangerously calm. Lil M swallowed hard, heart pounding. He had acted on instinct, raw emotion, and now, for the first time, he wasn't sure what would happen next. The moment stretched on, agonizingly long. M's cheek was still burning, but the pain wasn't physical. It was deeper. It cut through his pride, his authority as a father. He never expected this, not from his own son. Lil M's breathing was erratic, his hands still trembling. He wasn't sure where the slack had come from. Anger, frustration, years of pent-up resentment finally exploding in one unfiltered moment. M exhaled sharply, jaw tight as he turned toward his son. His voice was eerily calm. "You just put your hands on me." Lil M's chest was rising and falling rapidly, but no words came out. What could he even say? "I didn't mean it." That would be a lie, because in that moment, he did. M let out a bitter chuckle, shaking his head. "That's how you feel? All that hate in your heart for me?" Lil M's stomach twisted. Hate? Was that what his father thought this was? "This isn't about hate," he said, his voice raw. "It's about you never listening, never understanding where I'm coming from." M scoffed. "Oh, I understand just fine," he shot back, voice sharp now. "I bust my ass trying to be there for you, and this is what I get." He gestured toward his still stinging cheek, face twisted with disbelief. "This is the respect I deserve." Lil M's nostrils flared. "Man, don't act like you're some saint," he snapped. "You talk about being there for me now, but where was all that fatherly concern when I needed it the most?" M slammed his palm against the dashboard, frustration boiling over. "You act like I had a damn choice," he shouted. "Like I wanted to be locked up, like I wanted to miss all those years. You think I didn't lie awake at night thinking about what I was missing? Thinking about you?" Lil M's throat tightened, but he didn't let it show. "Thinking about me wasn't enough," he said coldly, "because when you finally came back, you still weren't really here." The words hit M hard, his breath hitching. The silence in the car was deafening. Then suddenly, M threw open the car door. Lil M's eyes widened as he watched his father step into the street, fists clenched. The streetlights above harshly illuminated his father's face, showing the anger and hurt written across it. Lil M hesitated for a moment, but then he pushed open his door, stepping out onto the pavement. He wasn't about to back down. "Down, not now. You walking away now." Lil M called out, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "That's real mature." M spun around so fast his expression was almost unreadable. "You want to act like a grown man," he said, his voice deadly calm. "Then face me like one." Lil M's heart pounded. He knew his father didn't mean an actual fight, but the words felt like a challenge anyway. In that moment, neither of them were just father and son. They were two men face to face, years of unspoken pain and resentment threatening to explode once again. The street around them was eerily quiet, just the occasional car passing in the distance. But inside this storm of emotions, nothing else existed except them. M took a slow breath, his expression softening just slightly. "Look, you don't understand everything. Maybe that's on me," he admitted. "But don't think for one second you have the right to put your hands on me." Lil M scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping him. "Yeah? And what are you gonna do about it?" M's jaw clenched again, but this time, he didn't take the bait. Instead, he took a step forward, so close now that Lil M could feel the tension radiating off him. "I don't have to do anything." M said, his voice low, controlled but heavy with meaning. You already get it to yourself. Lil M felt something shift in his chest. The words didn't sound like a threat, but somehow they hit harder than any slap could. M shook his head, stepping back slightly. You want to act like you're grown? Fine, but let me tell you something real. Men don't let their emotions make their choices for them. Lil M stared at him, his breath still uneven. Then, without another word, M turned and walked away. Lil M stood frozen, watching his father disappear into the shadows of the street. For the first time since this entire fight began, he wasn't sure if he had won or lost. His hands still clenched at his sides, his breathing uneven. Lil M watched his father walk away into the dimly lit streets. The cold air bit at his skin, but he barely noticed. His mind was racing, his chest tight with emotions he couldn't even name. Was this it? Was this the moment when the fragile thread of their relationship finally snapped? His hands trembled as he pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over the screen. He wanted to call someone, his mother, a friend, anyone who could tell him he hadn't just made the biggest mistake of his life. Before he could do anything, his phone buzzed with a notification. Instagram. His heart dropped when he saw what it was, a video. The fight, the slap, the moment M walked away, it was already going viral. Lil M's stomach twisted. He tapped the notification, and as soon as the video loaded, the comments flooded in. Damn, Lil M really slapped his own dad. This is wild. And didn't deserve that. I get why he did it though. That man's been a deadbeat. This is so embarrassing for the family. M walked away like a real man. Lil M still has a lot to learn. The comments came faster and faster, like a tidal wave. He couldn't stop scrolling. His heart pounded. He hadn't even thought about the fact that they were in public, that someone might have been filming. Now the whole world knew. His jaw tightened as he scrolled. His father hadn't posted anything yet. No response, no statement. But Lil M knew it was coming, and wasn't the type to let things slide, especially not something this big. Panic started creeping in. What had he done? His fingers hovered over the delete app option for a second, but he knew that wouldn't change anything. The internet had already taken over his phone. A buzz, another text. His mother. He swallowed hard before answering. Mom, what the hell did you do? Yandy's voice hit like a bullet. It wasn't just anger. It was disbelief, frustration, and a whole lot of disappointment. Lil M ran a hand over his face. Mom, it's not what it looks like. I don't give a damn what it looks like, she snapped. Do you have any idea what you just did? This isn't just some argument between you and your dad anymore. It's a public mess. Everyone is talking about it. T-Mez is already reaching out for a statement. The Shade Room posted it. Now I got people blowing up my phone, like I need to explain what's going on between you and your father. Lil M's throat tightened. He hadn't thought about the media, the gossip blogs, or his mother getting dragged into it. Mom, I didn't mean for it to happen like this, he said, his voice lower now. You didn't mean to? Yandy let out a humorless laugh. You think that makes it better? Baby, you just put your hands on your father in public, and the whole world saw it. Do you know what this is going to do to him? Lil M flinched. What was this going to do to him? Would it hurt his father's reputation? Would it ruin their relationship forever? Yandy sighed deeply. She was upset, but more than that, she sounded exhausted. You need to fix this, she said, her voice softer now, but still firm. I don't care how mad you are. I don't care what y'all were arguing about. You are going to fix this because this ain't how we handle things. Lil M was silent for a moment. His pride was still there, but it was starting to crack. I'll talk to him, he finally muttered. Yandy exhaled again. I hope so, because right now, the world is watching. And you better believe your father is too. She hung up before he could say anything else. Lil M exhaled shakily, his mind spinning. He needed to talk to his father, but where was he? Just then, his phone buzzed again. A text from M, meet me at the studio. Now, Lil M's pulse spiked. He didn't know what to expect, but one thing was clear, this wasn't over. The studio was quiet when Lil M arrived. Too quiet. His father was already there, sitting on the black leather couch, his face unreadable. The air between them was thick with tension. Lil M hesitated in the doorway for a split second. He considered turning around and leaving, but he knew that wasn't an option. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him, and didn't look up at first. He was scrolling through his phone, probably looking at the same posts, the same comments Lil M had seen earlier. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, M set the phone down and exhaled. "So, this is where we're at now?" M said, his voice calm but heavy. "Fighting in the streets like we ain't got no home training." Lil M winced. He opened his mouth to respond, but his father wasn't done. "You embarrassed me," M continued, his tone sharper now. "You embarrassed this family. You think that's what being a man is about?" Lil M's jaw tightened. "Man, don't talk to me about being a man when you..." M cut him off. "You don't get to talk right now. You're going to listen." Lil M fell silent and shook his head, voice lower now, not just angry but hurt. "I know I messed up in the past," he admitted. "I know I wasn't always there, but you need to understand something. I did what I had to do. I ain't perfect, but everything I did for this family." Lil M swallowed hard. He had never heard his father talk like this before. "You think slapping me made you a man?" M asked. "Nina," Lil M replied, his voice quieter. "Owning your mistakes. That's what makes you a man." Lil M felt his stomach twist. Was this his mistake to own? The silence stretched between them. Then finally, M exhaled. "I messed up," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Lil M nodded. "Yeah, you did." Another pause. "But I ain't perfect either," M added. Maybe we both got things we need to fix," Lil M said, locking eyes with his father for the first time in what felt like forever. There was a flicker of hope in his chest, a faint possibility that maybe this wasn't the end. But the world was still watching, and the fallout was far from over. The silence between them grew thick, heavier than any argument they'd ever had. For once, they weren't shouting, weren't throwing accusations. They were just sitting there, staring, processing, reflecting. Finally, M broke the silence. His voice was softer now, but there was a lingering edge of disappointment. "You know what the worst part is about all of this?" he asked, his tone quiet but cutting. "It ain't even about what you did. It's about how the world's watching us, judging us, turning all this into their entertainment." Lil M's chest tightened. He rubbed a hand over his face, exhaustion settling in. "Man, you think I wanted this. I didn't know someone was recording. I didn't mean for it to go viral." M shook his head slowly. "That's not the point. We don't live in a world where we can just do whatever and hope no one notices. We're under a microscope, Lil. You think you get to move like a regular dude? You carry my name. People know who you are. You don't get the luxury of mistakes in private." Lil M's stomach churned, the weight of his father's words sinking in. M leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees. "Look, I'm not pretending I'm perfect. I made mistakes, a lot of them. But you've got a shot to do better than I did. Don't waste it just 'cause you're angry with me." Lil M clenched his jaw. "It ain't just about being mad. It's about respect. You think just 'cause you're my father, that means I owe you respect?" M narrowed his eyes. "Respect is earned. You slapped me in front of the world and walked off like I didn't matter, like I wasn't the one who raised you." Lil M's stomach twisted. He wanted to fight back, to hold on to his anger. But now it didn't feel like fire anymore. It was just smoke. There was a sharp knock on the studio door. Both men turned. M frowned. "You expecting someone?" Lil M shook his head. "Nina?" M stood up and walked over to open the door. Yandy walked in, her face tight with frustration, her eyes scanning between them. The room's tension shifted instantly. "Are you serious right now?" Yandy demanded, stepping in. "I can't go anywhere without people stopping me. asking about that damn video. Do you have any idea how messy this is? M sighed. Yandy, we're handling it. Handling it? She snapped, crossing her arms. You think letting the blogs run wild is handling it? Letting everyone paint their own version of what happened? Letting your son look like some out-of-control kid and you look like a weak father who got smacked and just walked away? Lil M shifted uncomfortably. Mom, I know. Don't mom me. Yandy cut him off. You both messed up. And if you think sitting in here, going back and forth is gonna fix anything, you're wrong. You need to make a statement. M and Lil M exchanged a glance. A statement? You mean like an apology video? M repeated, his tone a mix of disbelief and frustration. Yandy gave him a look. You think I care about some fake apology video for the internet? I'm talking about fixing this for real. If you two can't figure this out, I don't care if cameras are rolling or not. This family's done. Lil M's chest tightened at the words done. He'd never heard his mother say that before. M's face darkened. Ain't nobody saying we're done. But this ain't something that gets fixed overnight. Yandy, this ain't just a PR mess. It's real life. Yandy exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of her nose, clearly trying to keep her temper in check. Look, I don't care how long it takes. You two need to figure it out. You're acting like you don't even care about each other, like you don't care how this looks. Lil M swallowed hard. He did care, but how could he fix it? How could he fix years of resentment of pain? How could he fix the slap? The argument in the car? He sighed. So, what do we do now? Yandy's expression softened, just a little. You talk. Really talk. Not in a damn studio like this is some business deal. You sit down, face to face, and figure out where the hell you go from here. M ran a hand through his hair, letting out a long breath. Fine, but if we're doing this, we're doing it right. No cameras, no social media, just us. Lil M nodded slowly. Yeah, okay. Yandy studied them both for a moment, then finally uncrossed her arms. Good, but her phone buzzed, cutting her off. She glanced down at it, and her face immediately tensed. Lil M frowned. What is it? Yandy's eyes lifted, worry flickering across her face. It's TNC, she said, her voice lower. They just leaked something else. M stiffened. Leak? What do you mean? Yandy hesitated, then turned her phone around so they could see the screen. Lil M's stomach dropped when he saw it. A new video, one neither of them had seen before. The caption read, Mendeecees Revenge. Shocking new footage shows what happened after the slap. Lil M's blood ran cold. What the hell is this? He snatched the phone from Yandy and tapped the video. It started playing and instantly, he felt sick to the stomach. His father was standing in the street talking to someone, and the person he was talking to, an LAPD officer. M's jaw tightened, his eyes locked on the screen, but he didn't say a word. Lil M's hands began to shake. Dad, tell me this ain't what I think it is. M's expression was a mask of cold silence. His eyes never left the phone screen. Yandy's phone buzzed again, another update from the shade room. Breaking, sources confirm police involvement after Lil M's viral altercation with his father. Details still unfolding. Lil M's mind began to spin. His voice cracked, barely above a whisper. Dad, what's going on? M still didn't answer. And just like that, the damage was done. The silence spoke louder than anything he could have said. And the worst part, this was only the beginning. What started as a private family argument had now spiraled into a public nightmare. With the new video surfacing and the possibility of police involvement, things were about to get much worse. So what do you think really happened? Did M actually call the cops on his own son? Or is this footage being taken out of context? The real question is, can their relationship survive this? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation is just getting started. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This drama isn't over yet. Stay tuned.